Oh yeah, recording. Okay, so obviously we're being recorded. This will be uploaded to YouTube later. It depends on how we edit this. Obviously, I don't even need to be doing this, but in any case, welcome future generations of CSUN YDSA leadership. This is at least part. Some more will trickle in of the year 2021 elected leadership core. Including a lot of people who were here to found the actual club. We are leaving this video so that you can watch it later and learn about what we tried to do this year and some of the challenges we faced and just some general advice. Hopefully we can create some continuity through the year so that we can build that type of knowledge through time. The first thing that we have to do, obviously, is do introductions. And so for that, I would just say officers, just, a brief thing about yourself. You can give your academic year, obviously your name, pronouns, and I guess what position you have is fine. And if you want to share something else, that's fine too. And for that, we can start at the tippy top with the chair.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Dwayne Johnson. I'm going to get ahead of the game and say that I was not named after The Rock. I am a upcoming senior for the 2021-2022 school year, and I am the chair slash founding member of CSUN YDSA, and I am a philosophy major.
We can go down the list of our officers now, beginning with our vice chair.
Hello, I am Izzy O'Brien. I am a second year ? And I served as vice chair the first year of CSUN YDSA. And yeah.
Very good. We will now go to our treasurer. Go ahead, Darla.
Hey, I'm Darla. I will be I'm a senior, and I will continue to be a senior in the year of 2021 to 2022. I am a philosophy major, and I've been at CSUN for less than a year, but I've done a lot of cool stuff, and YDSA is one of them for sure.
Makes my heart very happy. Go ahead. We can do Leslie's position. Go ahead, Leslie.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Okay, awesome. Hi everyone, my name is Leslie. Wait, don't we all know each other here though? I don't see anyone new. So I'm a little confused.
Leslie, we're doing this for the future generations who may not know us in 5 years.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, well, hi, my name is Leslie, and I'm currently serving, or I guess today's the last day of my service as the chair of community. No, oh my God, as communications. There you go. Jesus, I'm so sorry. Chair of communications, doing all the social media stuff, our Instagrams, all that good stuff.
And all that good stuff. Go ahead, Evelyn.
Hello, my name's Evelyn. My pronouns are she, her. I am the chair of recruitment and retention. And yeah, I'm majoring in political science and I'm graduating this semester, thankfully. So it's a sad thing. It's, good and sad, bittersweet. But yes, that's me.
Thank you, Evelyn. We are expecting our current secretary, Dave, to come through as well, and he'll introduce himself when he's here. My name is Michael. I am the former treasurer before Darla, and then you will also see Christina Tevez pop in, and she was our founding and first secretary before Dave got here. Wonderful. And this is CSUN YDSA. I was going to do a philosophical bit where it's like, let's give our take on what CSUN YDSA is. Maybe we can do that later, but for the sake of time, that can get very, very broad. So I wanted to start in something concrete that I think folks can, you know, immediately take away from. In a separate video, I think I'll try and detail what we did this year, because I realized that if I was to do, I made a list of it, but it would basically just be me talking, and that's not as useful as having everybody speak from their own perspective right now. So I wanted to first talk about what we didn't do this year that we wanted to do, or what we wanted to do this year, or for whatever reason we couldn't do. And for this, unless you would like me to go first, I'll let somebody else go first, and you can probably just unmute yourself or raise your hand if you're one of those polite people. Oh, and I see Dave here real quick. So if Dave wants to introduce himself for the future generations, you can just say his name, whatever major or whatever graduating status he is in his position.
Introducing myself to I'm Dave. Sorry, I totally missed the context. What's going on?
Hopefully this video will be uploaded on YouTube and will stay there in perpetuity for generations beyond the next one. So this is so people can know who you were.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I'm Dave Tanjo. I'm a poli-sci philosophy major, and I'm the secretary. That's all there is.
He said, and that's all there is to it. So right now, Dave, we are just jumping into anything that we wanted to do this year but didn't, or anything we didn't do this year we feel like we should have. Unless people were strapped for thought, I can begin, but I wanted to leave the floor for somebody else to go first.
I guess I can go first. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is really kick off our campaign. We started it, and then obviously with the pandemic and everything, it's just been pretty difficult trying to communicate to CSUN students in a remote setting. So trying to like kickstart that and you know, continuing to spread the word and really get the campaign rolling, I feel like was kind of difficult. But yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind.
And folks, feel free to make this a conversation too, so that you can unmute yourself when you feel obliged.
Yeah, so I guess another, bigger thing that I would have liked to see us accomplish, but it may have been a little bit too ambitious, was getting like YouTube content and other means along that nature out to our members as well. But I do understand that with the pandemic, things have been very, very tight as far as like getting engagement and stuff like that. So maybe that's something that we can do in the future, that I would like to see the club do in the future as well. But yeah, that was something that I would have liked to see, but I understand why we didn't tend to go in that direction.
If I could chime in, I would have liked to see, or I would have liked to have seen, I guess, a more effective like recruitment strategy that should have started earlier in the semester rather than later, if at all. So I guess what I like to see in future generations of YDSA chapters is just having that be kind of like the first priority as far as like getting people interested to join the club, so that way we can fill in positions in the future, and pour in energy into campaigns and stuff, and have like the, you know, the power and numbers to do so.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to second that as well. I think this year was just like, it was tricky. I would aim, you know, better communication with also the current YDSA members that we currently have. I feel like there was maybe like a miscommunication, and sometimes it would be like last minute when we would be doing like we would be having an event and then we would be just like dropping the link on the Discord or something. So having probably better communication and using those resources like the email and Instagram, and I believe we also have a Twitter as well. So things like that as well. But yeah, that's what also came to mind.
Let me also just point out, as the curator of this, I feel bad because this may sound like a glum note. Originally, I was going to do like our accomplishments, and then when you listen to all our accomplishments this year, it's going to be like, whoa, okay. So like the fact that they didn't do some stuff is okay. So I definitely don't want to, don't want my officers to feel like this is going to color how all our conversation today goes. But I mean, I think it's still fair what everybody is bringing up, the fact that there's just only so much time in the day, and some things just didn't get done for whatever reason. So I just wanted to say, hopefully people aren't feeling too bad. That's all. Please continue. I will like add my contributions at the end. I don't know if Izzy, Dave, or Darla have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, just to add on to everything, I don't think this is a glum at all, because we were under like unprecedented circumstances, having to do everything through Zoom and not being able to meet in person, because that definitely puts a toll on our ability to succeed. But yeah, the biggest thing definitely would be recruitment, but not just recruitment, but just kind of like, I would like for us and future generations to like kind of not only recruit people into the club, but like, I guess keep people in check, and like check up on them, so that we see that they're being active in the club, and if not, is there a reason why, and is there something we can do for that? That's definitely something I would like to see in the future.
And then there were two. By the silence, I'll assume you're okay on this topic.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just speaking like from my own experience and like in my own position and reflecting on what I was able to do and not do. I would like to see future YDSA chapters at CSUN develop a sustainable social media campaign, something that can be done like over the long term, just because I know that I struggled a lot, especially going into the second half of the semester. Just keeping up and like social media is definitely not a one-person job. It's a whole team. And so I'd like to see possibly in the future that CSUN YDSA makes up like a committee dedicated solely to like social media and outreach and stuff like that, or combine the positions so that it's a team rather than two people doing like work that I think should take up maybe like a group of 4.
And I think I would also like to second that as well. I feel like recruitment and retention is another really big. I'm in a meeting. Sorry about that. So I feel like recruitment and retention is also a really big part of like, having turnout here for YDSA. So having its own committee, or maybe we can kind of combine, if, gathering too many people to be in these committees, maybe we can have like one committee dedicated to like communication and retention, because I feel like they're like social media and stuff like that in recruitment is kind of similar. They're kind of the same. And so maybe if there's like not enough people to create 2 separate committees, maybe you can combine them and have one committee dedicated to like recruitment and retention, and also a committee dedicated to social media and community outreach and things like that.
I don't know. Hopefully the chat will be visible at some point if you're watching a recording, but Leslie just added communication and outreach synergy, which I think what Evelyn just tried. I muted myself when I tried to close the chat. I will say, I guess I'm the freaking high schooler amongst these peers, because I was like, swag, we didn't get no t-shirts done. Maybe the future can figure out how to swag us up, you know what I mean? Send the alumni a little bit of, you know what I mean? Anyway, stickers and stuff like that, but like that almost wasn't too vital this year because we were virtual. This was the COVID year. This was one of the COVID years. If you're watching this in 20 years, it was us. We didn't do any sort of physical demonstration, which isn't necessary, and you kind of have to build to that. So it's not even like I think that, but obviously, right, like we're activists. We want to do some physical stuff at some point. Y'all will figure that out. I said Oh yes, I personally wanted to have more competitive elections, even though I think the core of officers we have going forward is beautiful. Some of the positions went unfilled at the time of our elections, and I just like to see ideas, and I like to see different visions, and I like to, have them against each other, and then that way, it produces more accountability in the role, and I just think it's a win for everybody. So, but that's the me personal thing. I said, yeah, we need better execution when it comes to doing outreach. This is something Leslie talked about earlier, especially going door to door with classrooms, or however you want to conceive the sort of knocking on, people where they're at in the school context. And then I said, us obviously establish relationships with other organizations and clubs on campus is like a definite must for us in the future, but there's only so much that could have been done this year. So I'm not going to hold that against us, but we always need to establish those. So okay, are there any more thoughts on that before we transition into challenges that we face this year?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. It would be impossible for us to have done it this semester, but I would like to see future YDSA, the future chapter, like organizing more like actual in-person like social events, like not even necessarily like political, just like, I don't know, like taking everyone to a bar, or like playing some kind of like, playing soccer together, like anything like that to like build like actual social bonds between officers and members and people in the YDSA. That's all.
Which is a shame too, because Dave apparently has a wicked turnaround J. So like, it's really a shame that we didn't get to see the Larry Bird of CSUN. And I'm sorry, I'll put my race humor to the side. Larry Bird was a white basketball player. So challenges for the year. I'm thinking challenges, when I thought of this, I thought of like broad challenges, but now that I'm thinking about it, I guess you could also talk about personal challenges you face within your role. There was going to be like a self-evaluation in here, but I took it out because I felt like maybe that's not what we need today. So anyway, you're free to talk about challenges however you want to construe them, and I will shut up and let people talk first. Again, also on each one, I originally wanted to do like maybe 10 minutes a piece, like at least everybody speaks once, and then if they want to speak again or reply, they can. And if not everybody wants to speak, then that's okay, more people can chime in. But just for reference, we'll probably have till 10:35 on this one. Go ahead.
Yes, I'll go first. The most challenging part was communication for me. I would email professors, and some of them would not return my emails. So, when I wanted to do presentations in classrooms, like I said, professors weren't reaching back to me. Which was funny. I didn't know why, but yeah, it's been I guess communication and getting response from people has been the most difficult. But also like the pandemic, I feel like that is very prevalent. The fact that we have to do everything remote has been really challenging. It's just like you can't get the same response when you're in person, because people can easily ignore us in a remote setting, and it has. People have ignored us. That's why like I wouldn't get responses, and I guess maybe the way I explained it in my email wasn't good, so maybe that's another challenge. Maybe I needed to do better emails. But yeah, it's been interesting. I feel like just like getting response from people has been the most challenging thing that we've probably done. Even on Discord, when we would put the surveys and things, it would be like we had like 40 people in the Discord, but it would be like really difficult to get like a good amount response from people in Discord. So I would say maybe that's another challenge. But yeah, those are the first few things that come to mind.
Yeah, I would just like to second some of the things that Evelyn was saying, specifically about the more just it really being hard to keep people engaged in an online environment, especially when most people are already in classes on Zoom all day, and then they have to stare at their screen, and then expecting them to stare at their screen even more when they're trying to come to our meetings and stay involved that way as well. It can be very, very difficult. But with things slowly shifting back to normal, I think that will kind of iron itself out over time. Along with that, I would like to say that I guess a bigger thing too would be keeping people coming to the meetings and retained and everything like that as well. Because I noticed that there was a giant drop off in our second semester. We would get like 20, 25 people showing up to meetings regularly in the beginning. And that could also be because it was an elections year as well. And typically that tends to keep people thinking about politics a lot more than these off years. But just maybe finding a way to keep people engaged would be not only a good thing for the club, but it would also keep us motivated as well.
Just to kind of piggyback off what Dwayne was saying, I think like that motivation was something that I really struggled with. I think like witnessing that drop in like interest and participation like really took a toll on like, you know, feeling like motivated about this work, emotionally, but also like, I don't know, I guess like just struggling with like, okay, is this even worth doing, or whether like, you know, should we even continue? Like, are people even listening to us? Was something that I struggled a lot with this semester, and being part of this club. And so I guess like, I don't know what a solution looks like to that, but I think definitely like Dwayne mentioned, like if we could possibly in the future, or future clubs or future club leaders can kind of create like sustainable ways to like keep that membership or keep that interest. And I feel like that drop in like motivation probably won't happen in future generations of leaders.
Yeah, I think this is a topic that would come up a lot, at least in the last couple meetings that I've attended, where a lot of us weren't necessarily present for. I agree that there are just so many layers of why this year was so difficult for all of us, like whether it's the officers or members. And there's no doubt that the pandemic and Zoom fatigue and even just the social and political climate we've all been living under has taken a toll on our morale. And I think that, yes, this, when we started seeing a member drop off, that was really difficult to kind of come back from, because that also had an effect on me too. And I think that probably did on a lot of officers, because I think shortly after we had a couple consecutive meetings where the turnout was lower, the officers also started just kind of disbanding a bit. And as somebody who is really kind of like the only, I guess, like underclassmen per se, it was kind of difficult for me to feel like I was supported or that I wanted to put in any effort, especially if I was to be expected to continue in the next couple of years, after kind of experiencing what felt like, okay, like I don't know if anybody's going to show up to the meeting besides like me and Michael, or like nobody seems to be showing up on time, or nobody seems to like want to give us a heads up if they're not going to be here. So for me personally, as somebody who kind of was expected to go forward with returning as an officer with that responsibility, it was hard for me to feel motivated about putting together meetings, but also coming to officer meetings and feeling like, you know, like we could all build off of each other's own passion about wanting this to go forward and stuff. And I understand there are a lot of varying factors and a lot of us went through personal things, but I think that was definitely a pretty big struggle that I felt. But granted, like this is also basically a board made up of entirely seniors, or people who are graduating in that sense. So I think that also played a role. And you know, this semester was a lot of people's last push, and I know it was a lot to ask for. a club with, you know, this big of ambitions to be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds during that process. But it was just, that was definitely a big struggle that I had, was kind of just disillusionment about, I don't know, like officer solidarity, I guess.
There's a clip in The Irishman where he goes, "Solidarity." Sorry, go ahead, Darla. I think Darla unmuted herself.
Thanks for telling me that, because I'll never watch The Irishman. It's like 3 hours. Anyway, I wanted to just go ahead and agree with Izzy. I feel like we didn't have clear and like transparent communication, and I can definitely say that like I also failed on that on my part. So I can understand how like it was just really hard to keep like people engaged, let alone like ourselves, just because a lot of factors that were going into it. So I just wanted to second that.
Okay, I think we've heard from everyone. Unless I forget if Dave went or not. So you can interrupt me only if I'm stepping on your toes. But yeah, there's stuff here like I would definitely agree with, but like I am too scatterbrained and it would take too much time for me to reiterate them. So I just go through my list and hopefully the listeners can be like, yes, right. Okay, so Dave just wrote in the chat that basically people have iterated already what he was feeling. So this is probably also just going to be that. But what I wrote beforehand was, well, one, the pandemic and like being socially distanced, which also worked out for us in certain ways. I think obviously for organizers can take a lot of oomph out of what you do and maybe can make it feel, I don't know, sort of less, I don't know, tangible or realizable. I don't know. It becomes more, you know, something. And the pandemic just, you know, obviously on everybody's own mental and whatever, like, you know, having to do Zoom meetings after already been doing Zoom meetings. I said, one, we have talented officers this year. Like we had an all-star dream team and even our departing officers too. But like when you have the talented people, they're in high demand, dog. They are split in so many different ways already because they're active and engaged in life. And that means that their energies are always going to be sort of limited by like everything they're trying to do, which is awesome, but it's always a challenge. And I would take it again, I think, but you know, that's something to think about. I think obviously fatigue and the intensity of our work structure, kind of speaking to what Leslie was saying, like kicked in. We had I think an atypical structure where we basically asked all the officers to be present at 2 meetings each week, which lasted for over an hour each. So if you put together, and our officer meeting was very long, so put together the like total hours commitment, and a lot of it was just in meetings. So it sort of makes sense to me why the officers had a difficult time this year, because you know, how much more hours can you put in besides that a week into this club that wasn't already sitting in a meeting? We made that better as the year went on. Only recently we consolidated like the rest of YDSAs do, and we have like the one meeting, which is like, you know, the one officer meeting is like the general meeting. That's what it should be, democratic, for everybody to see. And then we can do special events on the side if we ever wanted to. I think we're brand new. So we're running into, Leslie says, calculate for her class, she did 30 hours before spring break, right? And that's not nothing. That's, you know, this shit adds up. There's only so many hours, and that's awesome, right? So I'm sure like Leslie looking at those hours, it's like, ah, shit, let me take some PTO right quick. But we have no money, so no PTO. I think we're new, we ran into problems, and also we didn't know any YDSA precedents when it came to these things that would have helped us save energy at our meetings. We were brand new, we didn't really know the structures of DSA well, we were all learning as we went along. Hopefully we've done this so that it progressively improves each year. That's why we're doing this now, to tell you like, this is how you should do meetings. Please don't wear yourself out trying to do like high intensity stuff, because I think if we hadn't done that, we could have had more bandwidth as the semester went on. So anyway, yes, challenges for me. I will move us then into the next topic, which is what worked well. Now we get to say nice thing. I mean, not that the rest of it wasn't nice, but you know what I mean? Like socialists are able to critique themselves, but it's also good right? The bread and the roses. So like, what worked well this year? What did you like? What would you like to see repeated in the future, carried on, continued, whatnot?
I'll go first, I guess, if no one has anything yet. But there are a couple things that I liked and I enjoyed about this year. I really liked our inaugural, what I hope will be annual Winter Summit or something like it. You know, best event so far, I think. I really liked our education events or education campaigns, starting off with Dwayne's Black Panthers event and my mutual aid event. That was also really cool. I like that people, you know, showed up and seemed really interested in those topics. I also liked our Discord. I think our Discord, albeit that we didn't, you know, always get responses from people from, you know, important like club related stuff, but the fact that people are still on there and like holding conversations with each other and like asking each other questions and being helpful to one another, I really like that. I really liked, yeah, I'll keep it there for now.
I think the thing that we should all acknowledge is that like we all created a freaking club in the middle of a pandemic and actually had people show up, and we created a social media account and we created like people to sign up on the Madison. We did a lot. I know we might like not feel like we did, but we did. The fact that this was in the middle of a pandemic, and with all the challenges, even in like we have challenges in person, but like in a remote setting, those challenges are even more difficult. So the fact that we created a club and actually is recognized by both CSUN and YDSA as an official chapter, I feel like the first step to doing anything big is being recognized and having some form of foundation, and we created that foundation. So yeah.
Yeah, just to second what Evelyn said, you know, we got recognized as a chapter this semester. So like that's awesome. That's definitely a big accomplishment. So even though we didn't get to do a lot of other stuff, at least we got like the foundation of our club down. And then like I just want to give a huge shout out to all the people that did their education presentations. So like Dwayne, Leslie, Izzy, like I learned so much from all the work that you guys put into your presentations, and I could just tell like the passion that you all had behind it. And I think that like even if we didn't get a lot of other stuff done, like the fact that you guys were able to put time aside into something that's important and to educate other people, like I think that was just awesome.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and agree. I think the best things that I saw were just the education and like organizing meetings that we did, because you know, humongous turnout for those. Like the presentations were really well put together, and people were obviously very like interested to talk in it. People like would, I remember we would like, you know, we'd start at like 6 or something and we'd finish at 8, and we were like only expecting to go to like for like an hour or so. So people just kept talking. And this came like a little too late, but actually opening up the officer meetings to the general membership, that I think is working out really well, because it allows for like kind of a you know, like you're not just speaking into a vacuum when you're like talking about club issues and stuff. Like it's not just, you know, the 6 or 7 of us, give or take. It's, you know, the entire general membership can like talk, can like voice their opinions, like, you know, if they need to, and it's a much more lively experience.
Yeah, I just have to echo what everyone else is saying. I don't have that much to add because it's already, most of it's already been discussed. But we've done an absolute amazing job for doing this during a pandemic where everything's virtual, and just getting people involved in these things is very, very difficult, especially when you can't do anything face to face and everything. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that. I just, we've actually recruited a lot more people than I would have imagined. I mean, our Discord is like made up of what, how many people? There's a lot. So just the fact that we've recruited this many people and a socialist space is worthy of praise enough.
I feel like there's somebody who didn't go, but so they can stop me if I didn't. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just don't want to repeat anything unnecessary, but I just agreed with our education meetings. I think were always beneficial and people really responded well to that. Our Discord has a high level of engagement in a number of channels. And yeah, I think when we posted on social media, I really liked like our social media layout. I think we had one of the better looking social media like formats. Even if, you know, like we didn't use it too often, but I think that was good. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'll say.
Yes, please, everybody here, please feel like you should be able to speak at least once. So please don't feel like you're taking up space or too much room. Please, get your voice in once. I would prefer that. Yeah, I agree. I wanted to say also, officers, don't feel like you got to do this humble thing. You can say, I did a fantastic job. The work I did was excellent this year. I brought a lot to the table. I will go through my list because I wrote this before, but I agree with what I think everybody is saying. I think that we had talented officers this year, and even if their bandwidth started to get cut short, the talent was there and they brought so much to the table, so much experience as CSUN. I guess that's the trade-off, right? You get the lower classmen, maybe they're doing less, maybe, but that wasn't even the case for us. But if you get the upperclassmen, they're busy, but they bring a wealth of like having been here. I think obviously passion too. I truly feel like I was a part of some sort of all-star team among CSUN Matador people. I felt that because they're all very genuine and sincere about this work. And I mean, I'm sure that won't be my whole experience in the DSA, YDSA space. There's annoying people there too. But like everybody was passionate here. And I think that really, even when we were overworking ourselves, like by definition, the passion got us to complete big, ambitious events like we did with the Winter Summit. I think we had a really good feel for, I don't know what to call it, but like the Greek, like kairos, like the moment, like, you know what I mean? I feel like we capitalized on momentum and like we made like something out of nothing. I think yeah, all the meetings we've had, and we'll go over those further in like a separate video probably, or at least I will. I think meetings spoke to people, and I think, you know, see, I think we grade ourselves on a high bar. We grade ourselves against excellence. You know what I mean? So like please like understand if that's the curve we're working on. But the meetings really spoke to people. So if it sounds like we're harsh, it's just because we know we could improve. But like our meetings where I think we're successful, and I agree with Dave. I think the just doing the one meeting format, which is like an officer meeting, but like with everybody, right? Like I think that makes sense. And I agree with Evelyn. We set the foundations this year, right? Like we are recognized as CSUN, so they won't stomp us out as communists for recruiting on campus, and we're recognized nationally. So now like we get fed into like all their like cross promotion and stuff. So I think that's excellent. We have a person who will attend the YDSA National Convention. We have to hold an election to do that, but like that's, you know what I mean? We're putting our stamp on it already. And I think our campaign, which was like around like sort of housing justice.
Michael, I think your mic went out.
Yeah, your mic went out.
It screeched and then you went silent.
Somebody say something?
Oh, okay. I was gonna keep talking, but
Okay.
you can go. You can go.
Didn't know what to say. You can keep going.
Dude, I have to, so sorry for future like people who have to watch this. My computer is so busted. I literally like how people would have to fucking tap the old ass TVs and movies and stuff. That's what I'd have to shake my computer upside down like this. So it normally doesn't happen during meetings. Anyway, I forgot what I said at the end, but I really appreciate our campaign this year. And so I hope it lays the groundwork for the future. Okay. All right, we went on what worked well. Now we get to go back to the dark places. What didn't work well? And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking in terms of like things we did. And it's not just that there are broad challenges, you can sort of include those here. But I was thinking like, you know, definitely in terms of like decisions or actions or like policies or whatever we took, or like for instance, I say what didn't work well: high intensity meetings burnt us out a little bit earlier, you know what I mean, than we could have been. So I'll go on with that later. And I think so there's overlap, and if you feel like you've already expressed yourself in the other portion, you don't have to say anything. But yeah, the idea was we talked about what did work well. Now we get to say, okay, well, what did we do that didn't work so well or didn't come out optimally? Let me say before anybody goes, because I don't want to get in trouble for this, we won't mention who, but there was a certain presentation we did this year, and it was not as we expected it to come out. We were hoping for a guest speaker to really be, you know, speak to our topic and whatnot, and it didn't work out as well as we wanted to. And we felt really bad for our membership for it. So I would just, you know, say, you know, keep an eye out on that. Make sure you vet the people you're going to have as guest speakers. Sometimes, you know, the resume won't tell you everything. So yeah, I'll say, for instance, right? Instance of what didn't work well this year. If not, I'll start, and then we can look from there. I said what didn't work well. I think our high intensity or like energy, like meetings were very, you know, it maybe burnt us out before we needed to be burnt out, because it's coming, but it nipped us earlier this year. I think because of our structure, because we weren't used to it yet, we were setting our foundations, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as founding officers, without setting up like institutions like subcommittees or whatever to help other general members of the club take on some of the responsibilities and reins and the workload, so that we pretty much covered everything we did. And of course, that's going to lead to burnout. I think waning officer investment in the club didn't work well. So like, I don't know how that's fixed. I think everybody here cares about it. You know, we discussed some of those things earlier. But the fact that there was waning investment from the officers definitely didn't work well. I think communication this year, communication you could always say in any context, always needs improving. Which isn't to say it was like horrendous this year. I just think it could improve in some key areas. I think our leadership structure was almost horizontalized this year, so that each member was sort of equally responsible for the ultimate execution of work. Just to say that we were all supposed to check ourselves, as opposed to delegating all the authority on that end to like the chairperson, who was then responsible for doing X, Y, and Z. That was sort of a conscious decision we made, which it manifested in how we ran our meetings. And I think it has its upsides, but then the issue is that when the officers, if there's no single person who is ultimately responsible for it at the end of the day, then things may not be executed, and things will just be forgotten, that are discussed about in meetings and then never acted upon, and nobody knows who is supposed to be who is supposed to be the one accountable to it and whatnot. Which is not to say some sort of horizontal structure can't work out. YDSA, I looked up later, recommends against this type of model for that reason. And it doesn't mean we need to like deem a tyrant at the, you know, there's no need for Stalin in the YDSA. We are democratic. But just to say, at least somebody who the membership know is responsible at the end of the day. And I think it's just a matter of accountability and making sure we get things done. I said, I don't think we engaged our membership this year, but I think we didn't deliver them enough agency. Like we didn't vest them with enough powers, if that makes sense. We didn't fully include them in the activist process. And I'm saying these things in an abstract way. I'm not sort of saying that we needed to have done this, but it didn't work well in the sense of like, in the future, you need to make sure you like bestow your individual members with agency to make them feel like they're doing something and make them actually do something. It's okay to have asks of people, right? Because we're socialist organizers, and damn it, it's not going to come from anybody else. Can't rely on philanthropy, right? Like we have to, as like the working class, fucking do it ourselves. And then I already mentioned a certain presentation didn't work well. Those are my thoughts. But like I say, this is not supposed to be like judgmental. That's just honest, and hopefully like the future generations like can just like see those things coming before, you know what I mean? Yeah. Damn. I hope that wasn't authoritative. I hope that wasn't the only version of events. Feel free. I think what happened is there was just massive overlap with our challenges category. And so, you know, it just sort of, which is okay and fair. There's, you know, autonomy for making that distinction where there may not have been one. So stop me if there's something you want to say on this. If not, we're gonna move it to roundtable. Now, this is one which I was like, we should just have a moment where there's no categories. See, we already came into an issue with the categories, where there should be no categories and people can just sort of say what they would like to with regards to this that didn't fit before. If that is like too much, if that's way too abstract for you to do anything with and form any thought, then you can also use this space just to say, what do you wish you could have told yourself at the beginning of the year? Or what would you have, you know, with all that being done, what would you have told yourself starting out in this role? Or what would you, whatever. To keep people on track, after this, we only have 2 more topics, which is like, what recommendations do you have for future? And then just parting thoughts, you know? So, but this is like a free thing. And if freedom is too much for you, then just be like, I would have told myself this. So I will go ahead and let people go now. This is just whatever you need to say.
Yeah, so this is actually what I would tell myself is actually going to be kind of tie into what I would suggest for future leaders as well, is a big thing that I think needs to be, that I would have told myself, is to not overwork myself in the beginning and to make it as sustainable as possible, even if that means like we scale back our meetings, or we find a different way to manage the social media where all of us are included and we can all help prop it up. Whatever it needs to be, I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I would want to see, and I would have really wish I would have told myself in the beginning, because especially in the fall, I was doing everything. Not only was I handling this YDSA stuff, but I also had the other committees I was involved in and everything like that. And that just caused me to just poop out completely by the middle of the spring semester. So I think that scaling back and then just being consistent is much more better than just pushing everything out and saying yes to everything and then end up burning out and then end up having to step back anyways. So that's what I would like to see in the future, and I wish I would have known that in the beginning.
I would second that. I feel like the same thing happened to me. I'm the person that also says yes to everything. I feel bad when I say no. So I was spreading myself so thin this semester from this chapter, associated students, and within associated students, I was doing so much. Like if I wasn't doing it, no one was going to end up doing it. So I had to do it. And it's like, it was to the point where it was like, I was like drowning and so much work, and like with school and everything. So just like having better organizational skills and being organized and being on top of that, I feel like would have helped me. And then say no to things. Like sometimes you're just gonna have to say no and prioritize it, because of course I would have said no things to like, I would say no to other things and obviously prioritize YDSA. That was like YDSA was always one of my priorities, and then obviously my position within associated students. But it's like I was saying yes to so many things outside of these areas that I just cut myself too thin. So and it did not help my mental health. Like I already have mental health issues. It did not help it. So just like being organized, being okay with saying no, and just acknowledging that you have to prioritize what makes you happy and what you want, and not needing to say yes to everyone to make everyone happy. But yeah, that's an advice I would tell myself.
We're doing good on time, people. Don't feel like you're taking up space, or feel like you are taking up space and realize that's a good thing. If not, you just gonna have me thinking I'm king shit. I organized this so well, you have no other thoughts to share. You can't have that. Ego's too high already. So
Yeah. Okay. So what I would say to myself then is like this club is not supposed to stress. It's not supposed to stress you out. It's not supposed to be a stressful experience. Like it's supposed to be fun. Even like when you're taking responsibility for it, like the entire like the only reason like people are ever going to think like socialism's cool is if it's enjoyable to be a part of. So, just keeping like that as like the focus point, I think is what's most important.
yep, yep. So okay, yeah, no, I mean I agree. Those are key. I don't want to like spend time like reiterating people's thoughts. So now I know how people feel. But just to underscore pacing, I think yeah is so important. Um, I was trying to come up with an answer to this question. It's actually like the one that I have blank on my thing. Because I was like, I don't know what other thoughts I have to share, but I think absolutely pacing. And if there was something I couldn't put in words, it would just be to say uh, like this is exciting stuff, and there's something special about being engaged in work that's good for the world, that's exciting, and like is happening with other people. I mean, it's probably as close to magic as I can sort of try and, you know what I mean? It's just a very special thing. And it would just be, if I was to tell myself earlier, like recognize how special it is what you're doing. And like, I don't know what that does. I don't know if that scares you or maybe it helps ground you, but it can hopefully, maybe at least it makes you like smell the roses and like truly appreciate sort of what you're doing. And if you get down on yourself, realize like these things in these situations don't come along like that. Lord have mercy on all the people we have about to enter the workforce. That's about to be our own collective struggle, which we'll reconvene and talk about. But like you'll see, like stuff like this does not happen all the time. So like appreciate the moment and the people.
And another thing that just came to mind right now, like, how should I word this? I don't know how to word this. It's kind of just all like a mess in my head, but I guess I'll just speak it, whatever I'm thinking. So don't put your self-worth on the type of political climate that we're in. If it's a good time or a bad time, like don't put your worth on that. Like at least I did, and I continue, because it's like just like the political climate that we're in does not determine the kind of quality of work that you're providing for the community. Like some people would claim that we're in a better political climate, but I wouldn't consider that. Like the time we're in is not anything better than before Trump or after Trump. Biden's terrible, but that's another story. That's another topic. But just don't put your worth on the political climate that we're in. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense, but like as activists, sometimes we feel like if everything's going to shit, it's because like, oh my God, our work is not benefiting. Our work is not, no, that's completely different. It's separate. So I guess that's an advice that I would give myself and to others.
I think that made sense. Thanks, Evelyn. I think that made sense. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I actually want to piggyback off of what Evelyn just said, which is that like one of the problems that's like facing any sort of political organization in the United States today is the fact that simply so many of Americans are just completely politically demobilized, like do not even care about politics, like, just don't even think about it. They don't watch news, don't care. And like you can see this in just like how many people show up to the elections. Like what, maybe like 60% of Americans are eligible to vote, and then like only half of those people like show up. So it's like right now I think it's really hard to like, even the people who are interested in politics, like, right now it's just like a hobby, right? So we're not in like a stage where politics is something that really occupies like the public's mind. So, I guess I should have added this to the challenge section, but like what Evelyn's talking about is like, it's an objective fact about the political reality in the United States. So yeah, you're gonna have to like make people, like for future chapters, they're gonna have to make people like interested, or like at least like when they find their own interest, like the club is going to have to like, play to that.
Yeah, and like I would like to also add, like that's always been an issue. Like having people become interested in politics has always been an issue. People always like suppress that and ignore that and try not to prioritize that, unfortunately. Like if people only knew how much politics affected their day-to-day life. But yeah, I think what David said was really good. And that's another part of like a challenge in engagement is just like engaging people and making them realize that this work is important. Like David said, like people think this is a hobby. Like when I talk about like my interests, they're like, oh, like that's just like a hobby. And it's like, no, it's not a hobby. So like, yeah.
Yeah, no, appreciate y'all. I mean, those are deep things, and I just have to second them. Those are deep things. Thank you. I will move us from that roundtable section to recommendations. And so I think we've been doing this the whole time. Implicitly, this whole thing is a type of recommendation, but this is concrete, right? Like if there's anything you recommend they do, I have a list, but like I'll let y'all go with it and run with it, probably for like 10 minutes, which will be, we're on time, basically.
I'll go because like if I don't say it, then I'm gonna forget it. So the first advice I would give to the next chair of recruitment is to try to prioritize creating its own committee, so you can actually split up the work with other people, because that recruitment is not just a one job, like a one person thing. It should need to be like a group effort. So creating your own committee with, I would say 2 to 3 people at least in the committee, to actually prioritize recruitment and actually kind of split up the work between everyone. So that's my first advice. My second advice is to create some like foundation, like try to figure out what actually works when you're trying to communicate to people. So I guess like the first, when you start the position, like try to see what kind of like what ways of socializing and trying to reach out to people works. If that's like presentations, if that's Discord, if that's Instagram, if that's emails, if that's just like meeting one-on-one with people and like talking about our club, just trying to figure out what actually works and what is sustainable. So you can have like a set foundation for recruitment. That's another advice I have. And then the third advice is to just like not add, like don't do everything in the beginning. Try to pace yourself, because I think we all did this because we were so excited that we actually were recognized at CSUN. So we're like, we got to do this, we got to do that. But it's like you have a year-long thing, and even if you're sticking around and you're not graduating, you have so much more time to get everything done. So just pace yourself. Don't push yourself to think that you need to do everything now. So just pace yourself, prioritize what you believe is important. So just like listen to your gut. And just like another one is also prioritize your mental health. I always tell it to everyone, and I will always continue to say that because, you know, I struggle with it and other people need to be remembered of it. So that's my fourth advice. Just like if you're having a hard time, it's okay. You're not a bad officer. Just take time and appreciate yourself and love yourself. But yeah, those are like my main advice.
Well, yeah, I guess we were doing it this whole time. I hope people are not getting shy now. I would say, again, reading from my list, hold, if you can, resemble anything close to, you know, equal member investment and responsibility, do that so that you can hold yourselves accountable and you don't have to defer to some sort of big dog. But no shame if your bandwidth shrinks, okay? So please don't feel the shame, just communicate. I think that would super help folks in the future. That's my recommendation. I see Leslie's hand, so after I finish the thing, I will come to you, Leslie. But I also say, yeah, make clear your expectations. In my mind, that the chair should at least be the responsible party for following up and making sure things are executed if other officers begin to neglect their duties for whatever reason. Unfortunately, right, at the end of the day, somebody should be accountable for the sake of the general membership, and they don't have to look at some sort of communist leadership blob and just infer who the most powerful person is there. Hopefully they can say, okay, that's the person we elected, that's the person who has to check on stuff at the end of the day, and that's the person I know that if all else fails, they'll at least communicate and be transparent with stuff, and they have the responsibility to do so. I say, and this is a tough one for me, and I think all young people who are beautiful and like awesome, but young people are also arrogant. Not to say that we were, but we're young people. We're like, we're gonna be the ones. We're changing society. It's over for you. And I just think that I'm not even saying arrogance, but I'm just stressing, be humble, right? Just be humble enough to follow precedent and best practices from folks that have been doing this longer. I'm definitely victim to still thinking that, you know, I show up and now I have the solution for how to run this organization correctly, or like where the US government needs the fixes and stuff. Like, oh yeah, like before my mind got here, okay, it wasn't operating. And now it's gonna operate right. And so I'm not saying be a victim to precedent. Obviously, you need to break it and innovate it as suits you. I'm just saying don't be humble enough to at least listen to it, right? And at least consider what best practices were, because I think, for example, this year, it's not that we weren't humble, we just weren't informed about it. If we did get informed, it would have paid us to listen to what the best practices were, because it could have, I think, saved some energy for us. But these are learning experiences, right? I'm just passing it on. I'm saying, uh, obviously make this yours, and I'm saying that in the context of your elected leadership, so obviously you have a responsibility to execute and fulfill the wishes of general membership and social, okay, right, so duh. But at the same time, you know, You wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for you, there would be no CSUN YDSA. Like if there were no officers here. So make it your own, maximize it, use this opportunity, lean into your passions. Obviously be respectful and strategic when it comes to like what you can do, when you should do, and be respectful for what, you know, the general populace wants. But duh, you're here, dog, lean into it. Like you're passionate for a reason. You've been elected. We trust you to some extent to follow that passion. So lean into that. Please bring whatever your passions are into this role. I'm not saying obviously like extend yourself to some crazy extent, but bring it with you so we can try and merge it. Whatever your diverse interests are, hopefully this can be a space for that. That is all I have for this. So go ahead, Leslie.
Could you repeat the question just so that I make sure that I'm answering the right
Yes. So
question?
these are just recommendations you would give to future leaderships.
In my position particular or just in general?
No, generally. Hopefully we can do the position ones one-on-one. You can give that though too if you want. Like it's all relevant. It doesn't matter at this point.
I guess just like officer specific wise or for communications and social media, I would just recommend kind of like a form or something to collect like any like social media requests. I think just any opportunity or any way to make the social media process a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more organized, I think would be really helpful. And I think that also comes with like having like another person to help whoever's in this position in the future, to kind of delegate those tasks between the two people, and create better avenues for that. You know, the officers who want a social media post or want something from the social media person, to kind of communicate better what their requests are and what they're looking for from the social media management side.
That's fair. No, yeah, that's fair. Thank you, Leslie, too. So yeah, I mean, this is relevant too. So I figured it would almost be too much. We wouldn't have the time to go through each person's individual things for their positions. But I mean, we do have a few minutes. We're about to break into like parting thoughts. So definitely chime in now if you have anything like that, or else I'll move us on in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, so I guess one of the bigger things that I would need to work on, especially in the latter half as a chair and everything, would be communication and just, I guess, being the responsible party if everything else fails down the line. I think that things next semester and just next school year in general will allow me to be that person that the club needs. But it's been kind of rough this past like whole semester for me. So I'm hoping that as time goes on, especially with the summer coming up as well, that things will kind of even themselves out. And then I can be that responsible party and fill in whatever voids that may happen for other officers and things like that, and continue to help the club in that way.
Thank you. Thank you all for that. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate people have been very candid. People have been very honest, even with regards to shortcomings. And I took out the section for self-evaluation because I was like, maybe we don't even want to touch into that. So, but I appreciate people for at least bringing that honesty out for this conversation. This is our last portion. Hopefully I can get Christina here to give a couple thoughts at the end. And I see, I don't know where people are, but if you're still here, do you have any last words, parting thoughts? This is especially for people who won't be around in the immediate next class of leadership, but even for those people here who will be continuing on. Do you have any parting thoughts to give? You know what I mean? It could just be like, hey, I'm gonna pat you on the back spiritually. That's my parting thought. You know what I mean?
This is a little bit sappy, but I say this a lot, I think, but I would like to say that I thank all of you for making this even possible, because if it was just me, especially in the beginning, the club wouldn't have gone as far as it did. So this was definitely all of us together, and the drive and motivation that everyone's had has been more than I could even imagine. So thank you all for at least seeing the vision that I had and willing to help me achieve, for all of us to be able to achieve change at CSUN. So thank you everyone for that.
Fine, dog. Are you making the brothers be the sappy ones today? That's anti-black. No, I'm just playing. Yes, Dwayne, they get nervous, man. They get but parting thoughts, I have a few. Is one parting thought. You don't need to be a socialism expert, okay? I know that's always a thing people feel like they need, and obviously it's a barrier to entry for some. But for real, if you watch a few videos, I think like you'll be fine. You'll be fine. As long as you're not like into capitalist ideology, I think you're chilling, right? Like the capitalists can say over there, we're not going to talk about the markets too much, but like otherwise, you know what I mean? I think you don't need to be an expert, so it's okay, and don't feel like you gotta be a philosopher like Dwayne. We're all learning. Socialism is like about practice probably as much as it is philosophy or anything else. So you're chilling. I say, yo, be you, and listen. I'll speak for the future. Like we have faith in your talent. Like the talent this year was awesome. I know the talent next year is awesome. So be you, lean into that. Don't be afraid to personalize it and make it yours. Um, Also to kind of like what Dwayne's saying, and Dwayne is being one of those like nice self-sacrificing leaders. Like I didn't get a gun. I didn't get a gun done. I'm sorry, but listen, it's okay to get busy. Always, it's okay to get busy, and if you can't fulfill something, that's okay. Our members won't care. Not that they're not invested, but they'll just be like, yeah, dog, chill. Like that's me too. Like I'm surprised you do this in the first place. So don't be afraid if you get busy. Of course, communicate. That's the only like minimum I hope, right? We can do just to respect each other. But it's okay to get busy. And if you can't fulfill stuff, whatever. Life goes on and people get busy, and the fact that you're doing this is helping anyway. And I think the last special thought is from me is that I just truly so appreciate and love all of you all, my peers in this. And I think this is a special group. I'm glad I got to work with them this intimately this year on like a passion project. A lot of these people I asked personally if they were interested in doing this. So it's not lost on me that, you know, they did this as a favor to me as well. And so I appreciate them following and having faith. And another one of my crazy kooky schemes that like took up a lot of their semesters. There's love there, and it's not just because of me, it's because they care the work. And between those two, it's just really heart melting. And so this is a special group. I really love and appreciate them. And I think that if this was special, that the group you work with next, whoever watches this, can be that special too. And that I think you have a special alumni family in this too. So hopefully this is just something we can keep building and spreading, and you can feel that too. And now the brothers are done being happy.
I'll just say, Michael, you said this a lot, where it's like, as long as we're not dead, we're doing like pretty fine. Like you said that a couple of times at the end of the meetings, and I think that's like the correct way to look at it, which is that if you're just still alive at the end of the day and the club still exists, like I think that counts as a dub. That's a win right there. So you don't have to do a lot to feel like you know just existing. That's a lot of hard work as it is.
I love that. I love that last note. Existing is a lot of hard work as it is. And that I think sums up some experience in a nice way. So I think officers, we should all resign our positions now, no? To let the new guys come in. I resign my position. I don't even know, we're not in a formal meeting, but we need to do it today so that they can hire somebody, okay? So.
Wait,
We'll
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, I guess I just wanted to express like my sincere gratitude and just pride in this group. I think y'all brought so much to the table and really made this club what it is. And I really do appreciate all of your effort. I hope that the new group and future generations of this group can really prioritize alongside the work that you do as a club, but also forming relationships and making friends out of this opportunity. Because I love y'all and I think y'all are amazing. And I'm really sad that I didn't like get to see y'all like in person. And I hope that we can arrange something to do that just because y'all are so amazing. And I don't know, I still want us to be friends after this. Like, I don't want to dip and then like never hear from y'all, like, but anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, I just want to second what Leslie said. Like, I appreciate everyone here. I feel like I've made like long life friends here, and I hope we can continue to be like, good friends after this. Because like we're like still gonna be forever YDSA family. So we're not gonna get rid of each other. So I know you guys aren't gonna get rid of me. So yeah, I appreciate you all too.
This will be fun too, because then they can pull it up later. So let's make a note now when Evelyn and Leslie are in elected office. Let's just say it now so that they can pull the clip up in the future and be like, yo, he said it. He's Nostradamus.
I kind of imagine that they wouldn't be like in office, but they would be leading like a movement to like tear down like the current government structure when like the world is only an apocalyptic wasteland and they're leading this like contraband of like rebels and I don't know what I'm saying, dude.
I'll be
But,
in
like,
the high schools just radicalizing children to become communists.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
I don't know, what was that, a question or a statement?
Why?
Yeah, that's a statement. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's do this as parliamentarily, as formally as we can, even though we're not in the meeting. But we'll whatever. At this point, we are the authority of the organization, so it's okay. And there's elected authority, so let's just get them into power as soon as possible. How's the best way to do this? Would somebody just, can they say, I resign my position? Do we need a second for that, or are we okay with a verb like resign and then accept it?
I quit.
Boom. Resignation noted. Chair of Communications, Political Education. Is there another one on the floor?
I will resign my position and pass the baton to the next chair.
Beautiful, beautiful. Chair of Recruitment and Retention out.
I surrender my badge and gun as Secretary of CSUN YDSA.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Secretary out.
I respectfully resign as vice chair.
Mrs. Obama, it has been a pleasure serving. That's a meme with the penguins. Okay, and Dwayne, you should probably resign it just for your 2021 service.
Okay, I respectfully resign as the chair of CSUN YDSA for the 2020-2021 school year.
Yes, thank you. And then Darla should probably also chime in if we can find her.
I unwillingly resign. I'm just kidding. I resign my position as treasurer.
She's like, I was coerced, I was forced. It was a conspiracy, it was a coup. Okay, and guess what? Welcome new chair, Dwayne. Welcome new treasurer, Darla. Okay, and the rest of us, we will see each other when we see each other next. I know we have a date written down for sometime in May. and we will come to talk about it. Christina, do you have any parting thoughts for the next group of leadership crew? I want you to come on. Anything to say? Christina is our first treasurer. Oh, no, okay. Okay, everybody. All right, that's it. We're done. This is the last event, y'all. If we do this again, it'll be as friends. So thank you all for this. I mean it. And let me stop.